A rude customer refused to tip me after demanding endless refills. When she complained to my manager, it backfired spectacularly. I, 28M, work as a server at a popular diner in a busy tourist town. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills, and I'm good at it. I'm generally a patient person, used to dealing with all kinds of customers, but there are some days, some customers, that really test your limits. This story is about one of those customers, who I'll call Entitled Lady, or EL for short. It started like any other shift. The diner was packed, the lunch rush in full swing. EL walked in with a group of 4 other women, all dressed in expensive clothes and radiating an air of superiority. They were immediately demanding, snapping their fingers and making snide comments to each other about the lack of service. I seated them at a large booth and took their drink orders. EL ordered an iced tea, specifying that it had to be freshly brewed and extra strong. I brought their drinks, and EL immediately complained that her tea was too weak. I politely offered to bring her a fresh one, which she accepted with a huff. This set the tone for the entire meal. EL was constantly flagging me down, demanding refills of her iced tea, extra napkins, more bread, and various other things. She would interrupt me while I was taking other orders, snapping her fingers and saying, "Excuse me, but I'm waiting." I tried to remain professional and courteous, but her behavior was incredibly disruptive and disrespectful. It was clear she was deliberately trying to make my job harder. The rest of her group wasn't much better. They were loud, gossipy, and made a mess of the table. They also kept making comments about the diner being beneath them and how they were only there because it was the only place available. I overheard one of them say, "I can't believe we're eating here. This place is so pedestrian." I gritted my teeth and tried to focus on my other tables, but EL's constant demands were making it nearly impossible. I must have refilled her iced tea at least 10 times. Each time, she would take a small sip, make a face, and then demand another refill. It was clear she was doing it on purpose, just to annoy me. As the meal progressed, EL's behavior became even more egregious. She started making personal comments about my appearance, saying things like, "Are you sure you're old enough to be working here? And you look tired. Maybe you should find a different job." I tried to ignore her insults, but they were starting to get under my skin. I could feel my patience wearing thin. Finally, the meal was over. I brought the bill, and EL immediately started scrutinizing it, complaining about the prices and demanding discounts. I explained that the prices were clearly listed on the menu, but she wouldn't listen. She argued with me for several minutes, trying to get me to lower the bill. I politely refused, and she finally paid, albeit with a dramatic sigh and a roll of her eyes. As she and her group were leaving, I noticed that she had left no tip. Not a single cent. This was the final straw. After all the extra work I had done, all the refills, all the insults, she couldn't even leave a small tip. I was furious. I felt disrespected, undervalued, and completely taken advantage of. But I knew better than to confront her directly. That would only make things worse. I decided to take a deep breath and try to calm down. I knew I couldn't let this one bad customer ruin my entire day. I cleared their table, feeling a mixture of anger and resignation. I decided to tell my manager about the situation, not expecting much to come of it. I just wanted to vent my frustrations to someone who would understand. That's when things took an unexpected turn. I found my manager in the back office, catching up on paperwork. I explained what had happened with EL and her group, emphasizing her constant demands, her insults, and the complete lack of a tip. M listened patiently, nodding occasionally. When I finished, she surprised me by saying, "I saw what happened." I was confused. I hadn't seen M on the floor during EL's meal. She explained that she had been watching the security cameras. Apparently, she had noticed EL's disruptive behavior and had decided to keep an eye on the situation. And then did something that completely shocked me. She pulled up the security footage on her computer and started rewinding and replaying key moments of EL's interaction with me. She showed me how EL had been constantly snapping her fingers, interrupting me, and making rude comments. She also showed me how I had remained professional and courteous throughout the entire ordeal. and then said, "I'm going to handle this." She printed out several screenshots from the security footage, highlighting EL's behavior. She also made a note of the time and date of the incident. She then told me to take a break and calm down. I was still in shock, but I did as she asked. I went to the break room and tried to process what had just happened. I couldn't believe that M had actually taken the time to review the security footage and document EL's behavior. I had never expected her to take such a strong stance. When I returned to the floor, M called me into her office again. She showed me a draft of an email she was planning to send to EL. The email detailed EL's behavior, including her constant demands, her insults, and her failure to tip. It also stated that her behavior was unacceptable and that she was no longer welcome at the diner. M asked me if I wanted to add anything to the email. I was speechless. I couldn't believe she was actually going to ban a customer. I told her that the email was perfect as it was. M sent the email, and then she did something even more surprising. She posted a copy of the email on the diner's social media page, along with a brief statement about the importance of treating service staff with respect. The post quickly went viral. The diner's social media post sparked a huge reaction. People from all over the internet were praising M for standing up for her staff and condemning EL's behavior. The post was shared thousands of times, and it generated hundreds of comments. Most of the comments were supportive, with people sharing their own stories of dealing with rude customers. Some people even started leaving positive reviews for the diner, praising its commitment to customer service and respect for its employees. The diner's social media page was flooded with messages of support. This unexpected wave of positive attention was a huge boost for the diner's business. We were busier than ever, with people coming from all over to show their support. Even local news outlets picked up the story, interviewing M and featuring the diner on their broadcasts. The whole situation was surreal. I went from feeling disrespected and undervalued to being part of a viral sensation. Meanwhile, EL's reaction to the email and the social media post was exactly what you might expect. She was furious. She started calling the diner repeatedly, demanding to speak to M. She left angry voicemails, threatening legal action and demanding an apology. M simply ignored her calls. EL then took to social media herself, posting a scathing review of the diner and accusing us of defamation and false accusations. Her review was quickly met with a barrage of negative comments from people who had seen the diner's original post. She was being publicly shamed for her behavior. It was clear that her attempt to retaliate had completely backfired. But EL didn't stop there. She then sent a legal letter to the diner, threatening to sue us for defamation. M consulted with the diner's lawyer, who assured her that we had nothing to worry about. The lawyer explained that because the statements in the email and the social media post were true and based on documented evidence, the security footage, we were protected by law. He advised them to simply ignore the legal letter. EL's threats of legal action never materialized. She eventually realized that she had no legal grounds to sue us, and she backed down. The whole situation had blown up in her face spectacularly. She had gone from being a rude customer to being a publicly shamed internet villain. The consequences of her actions were far greater than she could have ever imagined. The diner's business continued to thrive thanks to the positive attention generated by the incident. M was praised for her leadership and her commitment to her staff. And I learned a valuable lesson about the power of standing up for yourself and the importance of having a supportive manager. The whole experience was a whirlwind. It was stressful, but it was also incredibly validating. It felt good to know that I wasn't alone in my frustrations and that there were people who were willing to stand up for service workers. The incident with EL also had a positive impact on the diner's overall atmosphere. Customers were more respectful, and the staff felt more valued. It was as if the whole experience had served as a reminder that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. I continued to work at the diner, and I found that I was more confident and assertive in dealing with difficult customers. I knew that I had the support of my manager and the backing of the community. In the end, EL's attempt to avoid tipping and then retaliate against the diner had backfired spectacularly. She had not only failed to get away with her rude behavior, but had also faced significant consequences for her actions. It was a satisfying resolution, and it served as a powerful reminder that even seemingly small acts of disrespect can have big repercussions. The whole ordeal taught me that sometimes the best revenge is simply standing your ground and letting the consequences speak for themselves. It also reinforced the importance of supportive management and a strong community. It was a tough experience, but ultimately, it had a positive outcome, not just for me, but for the diner and its staff as a whole. It showed that treating people with respect is not just the right thing to do. It's also good business.